Hey, fragrance friends, thanks for joining me today. This is going to be a ranking of the top 10 Initio fragrances that I either have in my collection or that I have smelled. I think I've tried probably 15 from that house, and I'm bringing you the very best. Now, a little disclaimer. You know how sometimes people will say, oh my gosh, someone's mowing. You might hear that in the background, or forgive the construction work going on. Well, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this, but my son is playing piano downstairs, which is fantastic. It fills up the whole house, and I love the sound of it. I'm definitely not going to tell him to stop, but I don't know if my microphone's going to pick it up. So if it does, hope you enjoy it. Okay, so Initio took the world of niche perfumery by storm a number of years ago. I became familiar with them, I would say 4 or 5-ish years ago or so. And a number of these went sort of viral. TikTok wasn't around then. So it went viral on Instagram and on, when did TikTok start? I don't really know, but on Instagram and on YouTube. And I started to hear about them and I thought, my gosh, how much can be charged for a single bottle of perfume? These were up in the $300 range. At that moment in time, I thought that price was absolutely insane. And I still think it is insane. But what has happened? What had happened was that since then, a number of these have shown up on discount sites, as many fragrances do over time. Once they lose their initial popularity, you'll see them selling for discount. And I started to toy around with buying them. My first from the house was my number one on the list. And from there, I was a goner. It was like all downhill from there, and I've collected a number of them since then. So if you are interested in these fragrances, a couple of notes. One, notes. You see what I did there? Perfume notes, symbol crash. Shh. One, make sure that you sample first, because this is a house that has its own sort of unique DNA. Most of the fragrances that I have tried are very strong, very projecting, very long lasting. Like, you have to mean to wear these or you're going to end up having to jump in the shower and scrub it off. And even then you might smell yourself after you come out of the shower. So know that. So I'll have linked down below a number of places that you can purchase decants of these fragrances and try them out, or even travel sprays. That's a great way to play around with the house. So in addition to trying these through decants, or you can get, travel sprays of fragrances like that, I would say watch the discount sites that you trust. I have a few that I trust. One of the primary ones is Joma Shop, and they will sometimes do an annual sale or a twice a year sale on Initio fragrances. I don't know when the next one is going to be, so watch my community tab, because I will post on there and then do videos about them when they come up. Enough of chatty time. Let's get into the fragrances. I'm gonna go number 1 to number 10. Sometimes people do the countdown in reverse. I'll do it the other way today and start off right with my very, very favorite right now and one of the best performers, and that is Atomic Rose. Whew. This is one that I fell in love with at the time that I realized I wasn't a big Delina fan. I'm still kind of wondering, am I not a Delina fan, or should I go ahead and get a bottle? And I don't even know, friends, what I want to do about my Delina situation. But I do have Delina Exclusive and absolutely love that one. Delina La Rose, love that one too. But we're in here to talk about Parfums de Marly. Atomic Rose, I would say, is similar to Delina and Delina Exclusive. It's like it has the best parts of both of those and is even more nuclear than both of those can and be and are. Okay, this is one they're gonna smell you across the room. Y'all want projection, y'all want sillage, you want performance. Initio is your house for that. And this one in particular, if you like a feminine leaning scent, is very, very heavy on rose, and there's some pepperiness to it. It's the same kind of pepperiness to me that is in Sweet Diamond Pink Pepper from Kayali, which is a gorgeous rose fragrance. I actually went through a little bottle of that, a little mini, and I finished it, and I'm considering purchasing a full bottle. I didn't purchase it because I had this one and thought that this sort of scratched the same itch. That one is sweeter. This one is not quite as sweet. It's a little bit more mature, if you will, and joke around about this being like a man killer fragrance. It's got a little bit of like the tartness of Delina without being too in that direction, and some of the sweet sophistication of Delina Exclusive, and then brings its own punch on top of that. And I do mean punch, like pow. The other thing I want to point out about this fragrance that's maybe unique from the others is that, and I didn't notice this until more recently when I've worn it in recent times, and is that it has a little bit of a citrus aspect to it that I think just lends this like brightness and zinginess in the background that I don't think I mentally picked up on before because I was so focused on the rose aspects. Anyway, my number one, I always get compliments inside my house when I wear this, and on occasion when I go out too. People are really stingy with their compliments out in public, I have noticed. My number two choice in the Initio range, although maybe this is actually my number one, but I'm like mentally attached to Atomic Rose because it was my first purchase from Initio. So it's, kind of attached and have some loyalty to it. This is called Addictive Vibration. By the way, there are certain collections in the Initio line. I didn't want to break all of that down because it's not really important. Like there's a Carnal Connect collection and Mystic something or other. I don't even remember the names of all of the collections, but they have different colors is why I'm bringing that up. And so you'll see that Atomic Rose has a purpley tone. This one has a black tone. I have a few white ones in the lineup today. So this one, friends, I'm going to tell y'all exactly what this smells like to me. And I love it. It smells like the original Alien with a lot of honey added and like a sweet perfumey honey. And then that composition was amped up and made winter ready. Now, Alien itself is great for all year and especially cold weather because it's a beast of a scent. This is even more beastly than Alien. So if you like that, if you're an Alien lover and the idea of it being even sweeter and heavier, almost syrupy, is interesting to you, you might absolutely love Addictive Vibration. This performed on me like nothing else. So if you're not familiar with Alien, people describe it as smelling like grape soda with amber accords and some jasmine. This, yeah, it's like grape flowers or purple grape flowers. What is a grape flower, Veronica? Grape soda and purple flowers is what I meant to say. And I'm not talking about iris and I'm not talking about violet. I'm talking about like a sugary purpleness to this. Like I would rename this Prince, like the artist formerly known as Prince. Maybe this deserves a symbol, an Addictive Vibration symbol that I can slap on this, and then it just gets known by the symbol. It is really beautiful, unique, thick, heavy, definitely a cold weather scent. I mean, I would wear it in the heat because I'm crazy, but you might choke yourself out and annoy everyone around you in the summer with this. This is one, if you live in Scandinavian countries, anywhere on the Arctic rim, y'all, this is the kind of fragrance that you would really love. Maybe this is my number one. I don't know. Let's move on. In the third place, this ranking was so hard, I can't even tell y'all. And a sweetheart of the house. It's not the one you're thinking of. That one's coming up later. It is Psychedelic Love. I love the girly feminine nature of this and the fact that even though it's strong and has projection, it has this subtlety about it that is so elegant. It's a very elegant, very feminine forward fragrance. For me, it is soft, gentle florals, a powderiness. There is a prominent myrrh note, but for me, the myrrh lends almost like this, I don't know, deep background, kind of sort of syrupiness, I think, to the fragrance. I definitely get something in the neighborhood of an almond accord, even though I don't think almond is listed as a note for the fragrance. And I just love the creaminess of it and this sort of subtle, wet powderiness. I always talk about powder smelling creamy or dry. This is like a creamy powderiness to it that is delicate and lovely, feminine, and it's subtle. It's one of those fragrances when you smell it on someone, you kind of want to nuzzle into their neck and go, ooh, what is that prettiness on you? And I love how restrained it is in terms of the way that the floral aspects and the creamy powderiness meld together. None of it is an in-your-face fragrance at all, even though it has lovely longevity, a nice, subtle but strong projection, and is fairly loved by all. This is a mass appealing scent. So if you were new to the house of Initio and you wanted to try one out that maybe was a sure bet for you, I might suggest going with Psychedelic Love, or at least getting a travel spray of this one to start and see if you like this, and then work your way into some of the ones that are a little bit more controversial or have aspects that might be difficult for fragrance beginners to really wrap their nose around. You see what I did there? Let's go on. The next one you must get a sample of if you're interested in it, and try it on skin, because that is when it really comes alive and shows you its true character. This is number 4 in my lineup, and it is called Absolute Aphrodisiac, and it is well named. This is primarily a vanilla fragrance. However, it has these carnal touches that some people might perceive to be a little bit naughty, dirty. I don't know that I would go that far. But it does have like this texture to it, if you will, and this little bit of animalic touch. And I say that lightly. I mean, there are animalic fragrances out there, y'all, that just smell like you are wrestling with a large animal in a zoo somewhere. Nothing like that. The notes in here that give it that sort of carnal animalic touch are so subtle and beautifully done. They're restrained, and it's leather and a little bit of smokiness. For me, it is largely a really, really seductive, sexy vanilla with a touch, like a dash of leatheriness, a dash of smokiness, and just something else a little bit carnal, like you've been rolling in the sheets a little bit, if you know what I mean. But it's subtle and it's perfumey in nature. It doesn't smell literal. You have to try this on skin to understand the beauty that it is. Another one that sort of blooms underneath a warm sweater in the fall and going into the winter months. Very beautiful for date night if you want to be the seductress in your setup. And this smells great on gentlemen too. My husband has sprayed this on and it just smells so fabulous against his skin chemistry. Love this. Absolute aphrodisiac. Number 5 is, for me, an underrated gem from the Initio house. It doesn't get a lot of love, and I think it's probably because some people perceive it as being more masculine, and so you don't hear a lot about it on ladies' channels. Maybe the gentlemen on in Fragcom talk about it more. It is Blessed Baraka. So this is primarily, for me, an amber forward fragrance, and so it smells a little bit syrupy, vanillic, warm, and resinous. And although there aren't spices listed in the note structure that I know of, I feel like there are some soft, subtle, almost like a combination of savory and fall spices, like some of the spices that you might get in your Thanksgiving desserts, with a little hint of like the other sort of herbal savory spices way in the background of the fragrance. It's got a nice vanillic touch to it that I feel keeps it from going into masculine territory in a way that would be uncomfortable for me to wear. So this is a very heavy, warm, enveloping fragrance that smells heavily ambery to me, with a nice vanillic wraparound to keep it, it has some feminine touches from that. I think this is really great. There's a sandalwood base in the fragrance as well that I don't know that I would say comes through prominently, although there are some woody aspects of it as well. But the forward accord for me is that beautiful amber in this fragrance. Lovely, definitely cold weather. Like absolute aphrodisiac, you can get away with on a cool evening in the summer quite comfortably. This one, I think, could be very, very cloying in heat and is better for the depths of the cold parts of the fall and into the winter. Beautiful, cozy, Christmassy scent. I could see this being worn on an intimate holiday at your house where it's just maybe you and your significant other or your immediate family. You're not trying to impress anyone with your fragrance, but you're trying to smell very huggable and warm and cozy. Lovely. Blessed Baraka. I love the name too. Baraka means blessing, if I'm not mistaken, in Arabic. And so it's like a double blessing, a blessed blessing, a blessed blessing. Who's going to argue with a blessed blessing? Not me. I'll be wearing this and thinking about being blessed. In 6th place, and my scent of the day, is the Intoxicating Side Effect. I think this was one, in addition to another one that I'm going to talk about in a bit. These were the two that really put Initio on the map in Fragcom in terms of the ones that people just lost their dang minds over. And I can see why. I will say when I first sampled this, I could have sworn that I smelled a pretty prominent vanilla note. And the times that I've worn it, because that was my first impression, I kind of describe this as having a vanilla forward nature to it. Vanilla is not a note listed here. In fact, the primary players here are cinnamon, rum, and tobacco. There's some woodiness in the base of the fragrance as well. Some people find this to wear heavily woody. Some people find this to be a primarily cozy, warm fragrance that has like this nice fall, winter spiciness to it. I think this is wonderful. I will say, for my ladies out there that really prefer highly feminine fragrances, you may not like this at all. If you haven't tried it already, many people have tried this because of its popularity. I feel like it does lean unisex, maybe a tiny bit masculine on some days and maybe a tiny bit feminine on other days. I think it just smells fantastic on me. I do get like a dry cinnamon. It is not the cinnamon that you get in your baked goods. It is like a cinnamon rub, in fact, that you might put on top of a drink or something, sprinkle on top of a drink. It's soft, the cinnamon, it's subtle. The other prominent note here is tobacco. And it is, for me, again, a dry tobacco. It is not a wet, earthy tobacco. Like what I've been explaining is in Daniel Hosier Amber Tobacco. That is a really sort of luscious, wet, vibrant tobacco scent accompanied by beautiful vanilla. Here, the tobacco is a really dry tobacco and doesn't smell smoky at all to me. I do get some of the booziness, but I would say it's a spicy, soft, boozy tobacco with woodiness to it. Wonderful, wonderful fragrance, kind of an acquired scent type of deal. Like you either love this or learn to love it, or you're going to end up hating it and wondering what all the hype is about. So, of all of them, I would say try this one first and see if you even enjoy the general profile of the scent before you think about purchasing it. In eighth place, and the fragrance that I think is the most likable and maybe one of the best sellers, maybe the best seller. I don't know. I haven't looked up Initio's fragrance statistics. And definitely a favorite among ladies is Musk Therapy. So this is a fragrance that could have easily been higher up on the listing, but there are aspects of this that are similar to other fragrances out in the market. It's a clean, citrusy musk fragrance with a soft sandalwood base. So it's not original, but it is unique in the sense that the freshness in here is unusually appealing to very many people. This is a fragrance that I have taken to work events. Not a single soul has complimented me on this. I am still waiting for someone in a work setting to say, "Hey V, you smell nice today." No one has. I'm gonna try again though. I'm going on a work trip this week, as a matter of fact, and next week, and I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna test it out again. And I'm gonna just spray a whole lot and see, does anyone smell me? Anyone notice my scent? I'm gonna hug people on purpose. I'm gonna go corner people and be like, "You don't smell me, damn it." I'm just kidding. I would never do that to someone more than twice. Anyway, it's a musk scent, Musk Therapy. The therapy part of it is an interesting name. It is a bright and friendly, very, very friendly, soft, citrusy, musky fragrance that smells so clean, so inviting. There's a sportiness to this fragrance. A sportiness and an everydayness to this fragrance that I think is fun. It's really nice. It's very, very nice, very clean smelling and fresh. It's just happy. It's like a fresh cloud smell without being laundry-esque. You know how laundry smells clean and fresh and inviting? Imagine that instead of smelling like laundry, it smells like musk and citruses. And that's the clean and inviting nature of it. When I first got this, I was concerned about longevity, and it's because I went nose blind to it. And you may go nose blind to it too, but it is a fairly long-lasting fragrance. And I'm gonna douse myself with it at those work events. And dang it, somebody's gonna compliment me. In eighth place is a fragrance that I don't own. I have a dupe of it. I'm not going to show you the dupe because it looks almost exactly like the original. I would like to purchase the original at some point, and I have hesitated because the price tag, this is one I don't see on sale very often at all, and the price tag is high for the number of times I would likely wear it, but it is beautiful. So coming in hot in eighth place. Did I say that Musk Therapy was in eighth place? Because it's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Musk Therapy is in seventh place. Did I say eighth? Because in eighth place is Oud for Greatness, which alongside Side Effect, I feel like those two were the ones that really, really made Initio a popular house. People pronounce Initio in different ways. Like the Castilian of Initio, and I'm just going to go with Initio. Okay, you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. Oud for Greatness is beautiful. Arguably the nicest bottle from the house. There's a new Neo version too that has a little bit more greenness to it. I prefer the original. It is a beautiful, for me, very heavy saffron fragrance. The saffron is the key player in Oud for Greatness for me. Some people claim it doesn't have oud in it at all, although it has an oudy nature to it. In fact, I would say the woody aspects of Oud for Greatness for me are sort of similar to what I get in Side Effect. Does anyone else get that same sort of background base to both of the fragrances? But that airy saffron nature of Oud for Greatness is lovely. You have to be a saffron lover, friends. If you don't like saffron, you're going to hate this fragrance. And if you don't like a masculine leaning scent, don't get Oud for Greatness. Skip it or get it for your significant other who appreciates masculine leaning scents, because this is masculine. It doesn't smell to me definitively cologne-y, and I put that in quotation marks, like when you think about like Old Spice and fragrances that back in the day we used to associate with men wearing. Drakkar, Polo, Nautica, all of those like old school scents that men wore back in the day. This has its own flair, its own DNA, but it is a masculine scent that is strong. It has presence to it. It's projecting, it's powerful. And it is retailing now for something ridiculous, like $430 for the bottle. Ay Dios mío. So I'm not paying retail for it. I'm going to wait till it goes on sale and think about picking it up and swapping out the dupe for it. The dupe, by the way, is, I think, from Lattafa, and it's called Oud for Glory. And it's very, very nice. It's very nice. I am moving toward originals these days and moving away from my dupes. I don't have any problems with dupes. I don't have any problems with people having a whole collection of dupes. Do you? Do what you like. I am preferring originals more these days. That's another conversation for another day. I won't bore you with the rest of that story. Let us move on. I am pretty fascinated with the fragrance in the number 9 spot. I only have a decant of it and I like it a lot. I'm trying to decide if I want a full bottle just to sort of round out the collection here. It is called Paragon. One of the things that really fascinates me about this fragrance is the combination of wood notes that are prominent throughout. You get it right at the beginning and they stay throughout, and then it's juxtaposed with these sort of sweet notes that I'll talk about in a minute. But the wood notes are Palo Santo, there's oud, and then there's sandalwood. I love the 3 of those combined in here for this really like intoxicating, alluring, mysterious woodiness to it. It's enchanting. The combination of woods in here is enchanting, like enchanted forest enchanting. And it has this deep fruitiness from a plum note. Plum is interesting in fragrances. For me, it comes across dark, like dark berries, same kind of deal, or like crushed grapes, like a winey smell, almost wine, but not quite that thick. And so plum is an interesting one that's sort of in between. It smells a little bit grapey and a little bit like black berries crushed and all of that all together. And I get that deep sort of syrupy fruitiness in this fragrance. The other notes that accompany the enchanting nature of that trio of woods and the sweetness of the fruit are these aromatic notes. And so those are sage and lavender and bergamot. And I feel like they hover around the edges of this fragrance, at least as I'm sampling, from a decant, friends. If you have Paragon and you feel like the aromatic notes push forward more, do let me know in the comments, because I'm curious how that would play on my skin. For me, I feel like they are sort of at the edges of the composition, and in the middle squarely is the deep fruitiness and the trio of woods that are in both enchanting and sweet. So there's the juxtaposition of the masculine notes with the feminine notes that I think make this really beautiful and really intriguing as a scent and unique. And one of the reasons that I'm interested in a full bottle of it. And then the one in the last spot for my lineup today is going to be Rehab, which is in this white bottle, just like Musk Therapy. And this does give me spa-like vibes. And so I love the name Rehab. I think about sort of settling in for a day of services like a facial and a massage and a pedicure, and maybe even water therapy. Has anyone out there done water therapy? Is that craziness? Y'all know what I'm talking about? They fill up these sort of pods with water and you just float around in the water, and they darken the room. Maybe they have a little bit of like color from a light bulb that's maybe yellow or red or blue, and there's soft, soothing music, but you're like immersed in the water. Let me know if y'all like the idea of water therapy. I might try it one day. But anyway, back to Rehab. It smells like the oils in a spa to me, which I love. So think about aromatic oils like lavender and maybe even eucalyptus and a touch of lemon. I don't think those are notes. I think lavender is. Hold on, let me look at the notes here for you. Oh, there is citrus in here. Lavender and bergamot. So the combination of those, I don't know, there's just like a relaxing thing. I feel like I have arrived at a spa. And then there are woody and musky notes in here as well. So think woodiness, aromatic notes, a little bit of musk in the background. It's soft, it's comforting. It is very, very unisex. Very unisex. I wouldn't say there are any feminine tones in here, and there's nothing so masculine that I wouldn't wear it. It's just a nice sort of melding. And one of those fragrances when you want it to smell clean, but with depth. Like Musk Therapy is straight up a clean scent, a clean, fresh, lively scent. Whereas Rehab is cleanliness with some depth and some character and some personality from the woody notes in the fragrance and the extra, citrus alongside the aromatic touches in here. So that is my lineup. You may be wondering, where is Narcotic Delight, the latest joy from the House of Initio to hit Fragcom? That one is woody and vanillic, and it has a strong tobacco and some cherry and spices and booze. I do have a travel spray of that, and I am enjoying it and still deciding if I want to add a full bottle to my collection. It's a strong possibility at this point, but it didn't make my top 10. Are there any Initio fragrances you love that I haven't mentioned here? So I am curious to hear what you thought of the lineup. How did I do in terms of ranking them? Let me know your opinions below, and let me know if Initio is a house that you are interested in, or that's either too strong for you or just too expensive, where you're like, I can never do that. And if you're one of those people that needs to wait for it to go on discount, watch for the upcoming sales on different discount sites for these fragrances. Thanks for joining me and hearing my thoughts and my ranking of my top 10 Initios. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.